Hello and good evening, and it's Breck Time. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and wow, what a great evening so far that we've had. So my guests tonight, I just spent the past hour talking to them. They're out live on scene, and we'll get to that in a second. And I'm not going to spoil any stories. So if you had been watching before, you kind of already know who my guests are tonight. But we'll bring them out here in just one quick second. But I just want to thank everybody for their continued support. And I do apologize about a few weeks ago, we had to cancel BTB due to some unforeseen circumstances. Sergeant Major Sellers and his transition, he could not come on the net. And the plan was really centered around him. And so we just decided to pause and just wait until the new commandant of the Sergeant Major Academy gets on board, and we'll bring them back on. So we look forward to that. So anyway, thanks for your continued support. And again, a big thanks to my best friends out there, you know, D Hicks on NCOPD Live, Sergeant Major Mark Halliburton on Freestyle Every Day for Everyone, and of course, Lieutenant Colonel newly promoted Josh Powers at the Field Grade Leader. All leadership type platforms that we use to share information with folks. So anyway, tonight is the night, and I get the honor to host one of my favorite shows out there. Of course, they're all my favorite, but this is another one of my favorites. And so let me go ahead and without further ado, I'm going to bring them on, and I'm going to add them to the stream. So first, I'd like to bring everybody, welcome the Ron Jon Show.
Hey! Hey!
All right, great. So, hey, Sergeant Major, SEAC John Troxell and Ron O'Farrell from the Ron Jon Show from Veterans Lending Group. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so real quick, one of my things that I love to do is give you a mic for a few seconds to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to get into a lot more detail tonight, but I want you to just kind of do the old board bio real quick for me. So we'll go ahead and start off with Ron, if you don't mind starting us off, please.
Well, all right then.
Ron, I know I said that I was going to start with seniority, and then I realized, you know what? You're the baddest ass dude on the planet, so we'll start with you.
I'll tell you what. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So here we go. Right. Ron O'Farrell here. I spent 5 years jumping out of planes and blowing stuff up with the mighty 2nd Ranger Battalion here at JBLM. I had a break in service, then I had another amazing 3 amazing years serving with USAREC as a U.S. Army Career Counselor and actually feeding into the Special Operations branches. Since then, had a myriad of experiences from recruiting and in various technology positions. Since that was my core strength in the military as communication sergeant, and now for the past 5 years, I've been dedicated. Really my life into suicide prevention and interdiction programs, creating transition programs for active duty to their journey to civilian life, and something that a platform that has been able to support that, and that's the company Veterans Lending Group, of which I'm the Director of Education, and where we educate veterans nationally on their VA home loan benefit and other benefits, and it's a pleasure to do so.
No, that's awesome. And I talked about it in the Ron Jon Show. I'm all about educating and developing folks and giving them the information. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to go one way or another. Just give them the information so they know. So thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. And first off, thanks for your service. Thank you for what you did for our country. We really appreciate it. And us, we will never forget that. So thanks. All right, over to the SEAC, John Wayne Troxell, the legend. Please go ahead.
Hey, Breck, thank you so much for having Ron and I on the show today. It's truly a treat to be here. Thank you for being on our show. I'm John Wayne Troxell. I spent 37 years, 10 months, 29 days on active duty. Not that I was counting, but my wife was counting, especially down towards the end. And I joined the Army as a reconnaissance specialist, spent the majority of my time in the greatest fighting division in the history of the free world, the 82nd Airborne Division. I also spent a lot of time in Stryker land. I was the Command Sergeant Major of 4th Stryker Brigade 2ID. Where's my Stryker Warriors at there? Webster and Wharton. All right.
Hey.
Okay. We got some Stryker Warriors out here. And, I was able to, fortunately and honored to reach the position of Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary of Defense, the Senior Non-Commissioned Officer in the United States Military. It was truly an honor. And I retired recently, and I bought my home through Veterans Lending Group, and I know we're going to talk more about Mike and Brooke Villano and Veterans Lending Group later on. And they asked me to come on the team, and the minute I met this guy, I knew I made the best decision. And I spend most of my time now continuing to give back to the institution that gave me so much. My wife and I have been married for 37 years. We've spent almost our whole lives in the United States military. So I do a lot with military and veteran support organizations and assisting our veterans with employment, getting after the epidemic of veteran suicide, and assisting our wounded, ill, and injured. And some people forget that, when someone gets wounded or ill and injured and they leave service, that they're still a veteran, and somewhere out there, they're getting long-term care. And we can't forget about them as well. And then last but not least, our Gold Star families. I continue to support them as well. So I'm just excited to be here today, excited to be here with my Ranger buddy, and excited to be on teams that do so much for our military. So
yeah, no, thanks so much for both of you being on tonight. I really appreciate it, and it's just very inspiring to have you on. So we have a lot of questions to get after. We'll take some questions from the field, but the first thing I want to do real quick, Billy Knight, obviously you see the comment there on the screen. She was from your show, right? She had commented and asked a question about your show. I'm sorry.
Hey, brother, I don't want Billy to be on the first troop transport out to Fort Leonard Wood looking for you, man.
No.
I'm busting Billy's ass. Yeah, Billy.
Maybe you know something we don't know.
No, I apologize. Bill, I just saw Billy and I saw the Facebook picture, and it was a beautiful young lady on there, so I assumed it was that. So, but anyway, so I want to just quickly for Billy, I just want to talk about, because I know he had posted something that really meant a lot to me on the last show, and that was about allowing soldiers to continue their transition their last couple of days and not sending them to the field 30 days before they ETS, and that is so true. We as leaders across the world, we have to understand that our soldiers, when they transition, we have to give them the most benefit to allow them to transition. So, Billy, I'm right with you. And we really try our best here on Fort Leonard Wood to make sure our soldiers maximize everything, including the career skills program. So thanks to Billy for that comment, because that just shows about my passion about transitioning and making sure folks are ready to transition. And then also, too, I'd like to caveat on two quick things about LinkedIn and networking. And they were comments on your last show, and I wanted to quickly highlight those. And LinkedIn and networking is very important, and we'll talk more about that later on. So, all right, so let's get into the questions now. So first, I'm going to start with John Wayne Troxell. John, so I want to know about you. As I sat in the van today on the way back from my Best Warrior competition, I was talking to my boss, General Bonner, the new Maneuver Support Center of Excellence commanding general, and I said, "Sir, I'm having Sergeant Major Troxell on and Ron O'Farrell, And I said, and he asked me what was my broadcast going to be focused on, and it was really about getting to know the two guys on the screen right now. So I want to get to know you, and that's what tonight is about. So John, please tell me about who is John Wayne Troxell. Tell me your interests, hobbies, your passions. Tell me who is John Wayne Troxell.
Well, I grew up in the great state of Iowa, and I grew up in the West End neighborhood of Davenport, Iowa, which is a pretty rough neighborhood. So at an early age, I had to learn how to throw these things and be able to defend myself and everything. But what I learned at an early age is a lot of guys were coming back to our neighborhood that had joined the military, whether it was the Army, the Marines. We even had one guy join the Navy. He regretted that instantly. Sorry to my shipmates out there. All right, I had nothing but love for my shipmates. I spent 3 days on the USS Blue Ridge, and it told me I was glad I joined the Army 37 years ago. All right, so but I saw how they came back with this confidence, this sinewy muscularity, and they just commanded presence and everything. And I said, I want some of that. And so I joined the military thinking I was only going to do 4 years, but I ended up meeting my wife, and we got married, and and so I said, hey, I've got to, and then we were expecting our first son, who happens to be in the audience out here today, Daniel. And what's up, brother? And so I knew I had to do something, and I had to stay in the military. And I told my wife, if I'm going to stay in, I want to be a paratrooper. And so I went to the 82nd Airborne Division, and then I kind of got sick in the division of every time somebody would shake my hand, they would look at my left shoulder, and they wouldn't see a Ranger tab, and they'd be like, all right, move out, So I said, all right, assholes, all you infantry assholes, Webster, I'm going to go ahead and go to Ranger School and show you that an armor guy can do that. So I did that, and I did all the things that a paratrooper was required to do. But all I kept wanting to do was get better, get more growth, and gain more responsibility. And as I continued to move up, it was like a drug. I just wanted to do more, get more, and everything. And then, fortunately for me, I ended up getting selected as the SEAC, and it was absolutely the best 4 years of my life, traveling the world to get the pulse of the force and being associated with the strategic, operational, and tactical levels of what we're doing, having engagements with, the National Security Council and the administration, with Congress, with DOD, and with all our agencies that were associated with our national defense. And, I'm a guy that loves to do PT. Anybody that knows me knows that I love a good scuffing up. By the way, Friday morning.
Here we go.
Friday morning, 6:30 a.m. Pacific on Zoom, we are going to have some gladiator PT. It's called Violence of Action. So get ready to learn how to kill somebody with all means necessary, including a tomahawk or an entrenching tool, all right? But the bottom line, I've always been, because I always have been this person that said, you've got to train every day as a military member for the worst day of your life. Yeah. And the worst day, for the conditions in the worst day of your life. Right. And generally that's in combat against a numerically superior enemy force. But it's not only that, it could be in everyday life. All of a sudden you get a no pay due. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You have a no pay due. What do? The ability to endure that adversity and overcome starts with the physical foundation we have, and it will build onto the mental, emotional, and spiritual foundation. Yeah. So I'm always somebody that's about, even as a retiree, I'm about getting after PT, and I'm someone that is, every man and woman has to stand up and be a man or woman and stand on their own 2 feet, and they got to be able to be a great team player. When I gave my retirement speech, when I left as the SEAC, I said, people ask you all the time what your legacy is. I don't define my legacy. James Breckenridge ain't going to define his legacy. Ron O'Farrell ain't going to define his legacy. Right. But I hope people, when they think of John Wayne Troxell, it's that guy was a good teammate. And that's all I want to be remembered at, that people could count on me if they needed me. I always talk about this thing about, you got to have this attitude as somebody, a member of this warrior class, that you can load the whole organization up on your back. You can carry it to the objective. You can employ it and fight and win. And for all my tomahawks out there, you can talk shit after that, all right? That's for my brother Hep Nate out there. But the bottom line is, if you have a squad, platoon, company, or whatever, that everybody thinks like that, and I call it exercising championism, you're going to have a championship level organization and a high performing organization that can overcome adversity and perform extremely well in combat. And that's who I am. I'm all about that, you know. If people come to me and they start complaining about shit, the first thing I say is, what do you recommend? And if they say, I don't know, then I tell them, have a healthy cup of shut the fuck up then, okay? Because if you can't come to me with a problem, a discussion, and then a recommendation, then it ain't that important to you to get it fixed. And that's kind of who I am, and that's who I am to this day, you know, is just trying to be someone that gives back, someone that's a team player, and somebody that can be an example for how others should be. Excuse my language, brother. I'm sorry, you know.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're on the Ron Jon Show. That's why.
Yeah, nah. It's all good. It's all good. And that was a great way to get to know John Wayne Troxell. So thanks so much for that. I really appreciate that. So, hey, over to you, Ranger Ron. Tell us who you are. Tell us some of your hobbies, your passions, what drives you. But who are you?
Here we go.
EF, I'm listening.
So, you know, I guess I'll take it back to, you know, when I enlisted, like I had asked you where you come from, because I think that's an important story, just to know the backstory, right? So when the first time I enlisted was as an 11 X-ray with an airborne contract, okay?
X-ray?
Yes.
What the hell does that mean, man?
That means you could be fucked with mech, mortars, or infantry. And you didn't know. It was a wild card, right? It was back in those days, right? Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. So what happened is that I had signed up. This was in September of 93. And what happened on October 3rd, 1993, on my birthday, was Somalia, Mogadishu that went down. And that whole mission actually it was prior. We had the Gulf War prior to that, and I was kind of like one of those guys that was like, man, I hope they leave some left, right? And then later on, it was Somalia, and at that point, I knew, because my stepfather was an Army Ranger, and I said, I need to be there. I need to go do that. I went to the recruiting office and I said, I want to go to the Ranger Battalion. I need an Option 40 contract. I don't care what job it is. And the job that they gave me was in communications. And so I went to 275, had 5 glorious years there, learned, that's where I became a man. That's what forged me to become the person that I am today, is the times behind that brown fence. And then once again, re-enlisting behind that brown fence, and kind of taking off. And, I was in those times, I had served from 95 to 2000, had that break in service, came in from 04 to 07. So I transitioned twice in some shitty times to transition. Let's just put it that way, because we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what TBI or PTSD and all that kind of stuff meant. And so I'll share this piece because I think it sets the stage to the work that I do now. In 2001, just after the balloon went up, right? So this is my break in service. When that happened, I called my former chief, who's the ComSec chief, Chief Hubbs. And this is actually on the Darby Project confession page here for me. But I said, Chief, I know what's going on. I need to get there right away. Send me back ASAP. So at the time, he was working at SEAC. And he says, Big O, he said, I know what's going on. I see what's going on, what's happening with you in your career. But where you are at right now, you are leaps and bounds ahead of anybody that's gotten out, because he also had a break in service. And he said, I will send you back to wherever you want to go. I can make that call. But remember, if you go back in right now, you are taking a step backwards. You are a testament of service, an example for others to follow, and you'll be showing everybody that you got out and you couldn't fucking hack it. That's not the call that I was expecting. He said, call me back in an hour if this is still true. I never called him back. And, for a long period of my career, I wondered, was this the right decision? I came back in and served in a different capacity. But the work that we're able to do now, where I am now, I mean, look at where I'm at, right? I'm sitting with the senior enlisted advisor, that probably the best one that's ever rocked, these United States, and sharing and talking about transition, So it was a catapult to where I am today. And what I tell everybody is, you know what, be proud of your service, be proud of what you've done, because you never know what things are going to lead up to and how many lives that you're going to affect later in life. And I can confidently say that through my peers and my community that keep me and hold me accountable, that you can ask anybody about Ron O'Farrell or John Wayne Troxell and they'll have positive things to say.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thanks. That's a great story. And I really appreciate it. It's going to lead me and segue into another question that I have. And this is a question that I learned from the current commanding general from TRADOC, General Funk, I always ask people 2 questions. It's always on the tip of my tongue to ask 2 questions. And I'm going to start with Ron, and you kind of hinted to it a little bit. But why did you join the Army? And why did you continue to serve for the time that you did?
So I joined the Army because the community that I was raised in was in Riverside, California, East Riverside to be specific. In East Riverside, it's predominantly Black and Mexican communities. In the time that I was raised, from the time that I was in junior high to the time that I went into the Army, 6 of my friends were murdered. One of them was my brother. And I saw no way out of what my situation was. I was a bright kid, but wasn't the smartest in academics because, of so many things pulling you in so many different directions. My mom didn't want me to go to the gang high school, so she put me in ROTC, and I was like, whatever, this is some dumb shit. And I was like, because it's not cool, right? Like, there's nothing cool about that. So I hid that part of me, which is crazy. I hid that part. I'd wear big coats and stuff because I had to go to this stupid ass school. But the thing is that's what got me in and said, it was attractive to me because there was team, there was camaraderie, like low key. I really loved what was going on there. And it was something that I wasn't able to find in and how I was raised besides in a gang. And I knew right away that wasn't it. I had brothers that were in that kept me from that. So that's what drove me to go to the Army. What drove me to become a Ranger was what happened again in Mogadishu. And that was just a stark tragedy in our history that I never wanted to repeat. And I wanted to be able to at least put some ass whoop on those
Sure.
that did that. What made me stay in was an NCO by the name of Staff Sergeant Mark Reniger. And in those years in battalion, it was there was a lot of extracurricular motivational exercises that others would call maybe hazing or harassment, right? We call it team building. But there was a lot of shit that was going on, and just me as a person. And I remember this E6, he was not in my section. He was actually an intel guy like Jared over here. And I remember I was locked up at his desk one day delivering some radios, and he says, "What's wrong, Ranger?" And I said, "Nothing, Sergeant." He says, "No, what's wrong? Just relax." And I kind of shared with him what was happening. And he told me something. He said, "You have to determine when it's your time to leave here. You have to determine when it's your time to leave the Army. If you have to understand that, these things are going to pass, and what happened there was it wasn't just a pep talk. It was just an NCO that had nothing to do with me, that gave me hope, that gave me some instant motivation. And from that pep talk, I ended up serving in a re-enlisting and serving more time. Unfortunately, later, 7 years later, Mark Reniger, he got out. Actually, shortly after this conversation, became a police officer here in Washington State and was unfortunately executed as one of the Lakewood Four in that coffee shop in Lakewood, Washington. But that legacy stays with me today. That story stays with me today. And it's something that I'm prepared to do. And that's why I share about transition, because I let everybody know, regardless of where you're at in your career, when that time is, and you can pick and choose those times accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told you this earlier, my thought process, it doesn't matter how many years. If you do a 3, 4, 5-year stint or a 39-year stint, it doesn't matter. Transitioning, you got to leave when you're ready to go. So thanks for your service, Ron. We really appreciate that. So, hey, over to you, John. Same 2 questions. Why did you join and what made you stay?
Yeah, so Breck, as I said earlier, I think I was looking for something larger than myself, looking to be something. I was looking for purpose, motivation, direction, and inspiration. And I saw my friends that were coming back from the Marine Corps, and I had one guy that came back from the Ranger Regiment, and I saw how they looked, how they act, and how they talked, and I said, I want some of that. So that's why I joined. And what kept me in initially was that I started a family. My wife Sandra and I, we got married, and we were expecting the birth of our first son. So I knew I had responsibilities and I needed a job. The only skills I knew at the time were to be a soldier. And so I elected to stay in, and being a soldier just came easy to me. And this really hit me when I'm in formation. I'm a private in the 3rd ACR at Fort Bliss, Texas, when the regiment was stationed there. And I'm an E2, and my platoon sergeant calls me out and says, get up front of the formation. I thought, holy shit, what the hell did I do wrong, And, the commander and the first sergeant are standing there, and I'm like, holy shit, I know I didn't do anything wrong. And they get up there and they pin PFC on me, private first class. And I was like, why did I get this? And they said, well, you show up on time, you have a great attitude, you work hard, and you do what you're told. And I said, that's all I got to do to excel and get promoted? And they said, pretty much. And I said, well, shit, this stuff comes easy, because of the way I was brought up back in my hometown in Davenport, Iowa. That's the way I was. And so then I said, hey, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to continue to get after it. And then I said, I want to do the things that I wanted to do. So I wanted to be a jump master. I wanted to be a ranger. I wanted to be a pathfinder. I wanted to be in some units that were deploying, some units that were going to see combat. And, I got to see my first combat in Operation Just Cause in Panama when I parachuted in on 20 December 1989. And so the reason I stayed was for, stability, to take care of my family. And I will tell you, I joined as a private that, was a good student when it was football and wrestling season. But the rest of the time I was drinking beer and chasing girls. And I got in the military, and I acquired a wife. I acquired 3 phenomenal sons who all have great lives. And now I have 4 wonderful grandchildren. I went from barely graduating high school, and now I have a master's degree in strategic leadership. And I was able to rise and honored to serve as the SEAC. So, and I will tell you, Breck, this is what people don't know. Until I retired, I only ever had 2 jobs. I lasted 30 days in McDonald's, and they shit canned me. And I spent 38 years in the Army. Tell me it ain't hard to excel in the United States military when McDonald's will shit can me after 30 days, and the Army keeps me for 38 years. You know what I'm talking about, Lieutenant?
Right? Okay. All right. So question then, what job did you do in McDonald's that got you canned?
Oh, shit.
So,
were you the fry guy?
How did you
I
fire
was
on
the fry
your day
guy. I was the fry guy initially. And then my boss at the time, he kind of saw some potential on me, and he put my ass on the grill.
Yep.
And, I was working around the grill, but then he put me on the grill for breakfast, which is,
okay.
I mean, dude, leading a patrol on the Hindu Kush in Afghanistan ain't shit to dealing with that pancake machine at fucking McDonald's when it's rush hour traffic and all them old crusty dudes are trying to get their chow before they go out and work at Oscar Mayer.
All right, John, here is the question of the night. And this is going to determine if you should have gotten fired or they should have kept you. What does it mean to cow the grill?
Well, you're talking about cleaning it?
No, cowing the grill. When they say cow the grill, what does that mean? You know?
What that means, dude, but I know this, that they would tell me to take the sump out and take it out and pour it in the sump can.
Yep.
And I put the shit in the dumpster because the dumpster was only 50 feet away and the sump can was like 200 feet away. So I was a lazy ass, So maybe that's what it was, But
no, so
they came in and said, hey, Troxell, we're going to have to let you go. Maybe in 6 months you come back, we can get back. I left there like 5 days later. I ran into an Army recruiter. They brought me in, said, hey, have we got something for you?
Boom.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So for the audience.
Hey, so the Ray Crocs family out there, guess what? You missed out, okay?
Yeah.
Because you could have had 38 years of me, but instead I gave it to my country in the United States Army.
Oh,
Boom.
boom. So just
Right decision? Yeah, okay.
I have no words.
So just for the audience sake, cowing the grill means taking and just filling the entire grill with meat, right? When a bus pulls up,
Oh,
a
dude,
school bus, you
that's
just
where I
lay the
failed my
meat.
RTEP.
Yeah. So
I failed my RTEP because I had freaking pancakes all over shit. But
Okay.
pancakes are supposed to be round, and some of my shit looked like the Pentagon. Some of it looked like Italy. I mean, it was just terrible. And finally, the guy said, "Look, brother."
Breck, I love that we're having this show after our show.
yeah. Well,
And as my brother Matt Chris just said, worst big burger flipper the Army ever had. He's exactly
yeah.
Well, that's how he's got their start, right? He
Yeah.
was an Army cook. Anyway, yeah.
Well, now I know why you got fired, because you don't know how to cow the grill. So anyway, what's funny about that whole thing is I've only had 2 jobs in my life as well, and I worked at McDonald's, and I started out as the maintenance guy. The guy who swept all the floors and took out all the trash and cleaned the drive-through outside, and moved my way up to a swing manager until I got into the Army. So very similar. So, hey, thanks for that, Sergeant Major. So, hey, we're going to quickly transition to the most important part of our lives, whether it's mom, dad, wife, sister, brother, cousin, whoever's that important person in your life. I want to talk about family. And obviously during your broadcast of me, you introduced me and talked about my beautiful wife, Carolyn, who we've been married for a very, very long time, 27 years and counting, and which produced one beautiful daughter who's 19, but who's looking for a boyfriend. No, I'm just joking. He's kind of probably going to kill me for that, but
where'd Cliff go?
Hey, where's Cliff? Yeah, bring Cliff back. No.
Cliff is here somewhere.
So real quick, I'm going to start with Ron. Ron, please tell us about your family. Just free mic. Go ahead. Tell us we want to know about your family.
My family. Wow. My family it's very diverse. I'm Black and Mexican. So, one thing that both of my sides of my family love is cooking, right? I'm a private chef on the side, kind of do that thing, had that gift kind of instilled in me from both of my grandfathers. But, when it comes to family, it's the things that I love is, as I remember, having, fiestas at the ranch. I remember having, big barbecues on the other side of the family with just camaraderie and love and everything like that. And as I, went into the military, got married, had a beautiful, beautiful baby girl, Leilani, if you're watching, I love you. I was a very young husband. But the thing is that one thing that I pride myself is that not only myself, but with my baby's mother, Naomi, is that we've been able to maintain a relationship for our daughter throughout these years. And my family is, when I hear that word, that means something different to me than just blood. It means something that is inherent. It means somebody that I could look at and I could, I don't mind if he gives me a nugget or puts me in a headlock. It's something that means that I get tingles when I give a brother or a sister a hug. And I say that because my extended family on my ex-wife's side, it even feels weird saying that, it's been completely welcoming. And I wouldn't be able to be here to this day without the support of that family and the extended family, which John, as you know, I mean, as coming, from the other side of with Sandra and the Hispanic side, it's like, it's just so loving, and I'm so thankful and grateful. But also the way that I feel that is with my military community and my veteran community. I'm also a veteran that some would say, well, what relevancy does Ron have today? He already got out a while ago, and that relevancy, I think, is just the care in that I look at every service member, I look at every veteran as a family member. I say that in every class. I say that at every show. I thank everyone for all of their sacrifices and that embracement, because there's times where we didn't have family, and there's times, more often than not, where that person that wore that uniform is your family more than your blood is. So my family, just in closing, has evolved so much. But I embrace every facet of family that I've been able to experience up to this point, including my extended family and the way I look at everyone here. And I think that everyone can feel that and know that I love you guys. I love all of you. Yeah, especially this guy.
Hey, brother, you're
Breck,
muted, man.
You're muted, brother.
I don't want to tell.
Sorry.
I'll tell you how to run your show.
No, you're good. I'm sorry.
I mean, you got a couple combo guys here.
I got you. I want to deviate a little bit real quick because what you brought up is something very important, and that's called the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the Army. And so you know that the last day and a half, tomorrow's the last day of the Army hiring days, where the Army is trying to recruit 10,000 young men and women across the United States to join our team. And I think the brotherhood and that sisterhood is what really is what we love about it. Real quickly, tell us, if there's somebody watching who's on the fence, whether to join the military or do whatever, why join our team, Ron? Why?
I can tell you right now, there's number one is you will never experience in your life that camaraderie. When I say camaraderie, I mean that family ship. It forces you to work with people from different nationalities, origins, sexual orientations, and complete a mission, to complete an objective, complete a goal collectively. It shows you that diversification on how to do those things. The other part is that it forges you into growing up a lot faster on the outside. I mean, I look at, young people today across the board, and I wonder, and I think to myself, man, did I do that dumb shit? And I probably did do that dumb shit, okay? More often than not. What I like to tell my recruits is that, there's nothing different between us besides I didn't get caught, right? But the thing is with that is that people join for different reasons. Adventure, money, college money, all those things. And you can experience all of those things. But one thing that you will never be able to replicate, I don't care if you go straight into the workforce, I don't care if you go straight into college and join a fraternity. This brotherhood, this sisterhood, this is something that lasts lifetimes. I'm confident right now, I can drive from Washington State to Miami, Florida, and not know anybody and put out a blast on different networks to say, hey, I'm driving from here to there, and be able to couch surf all that way, be taken care of, be taken out by people that I've never known before. And social media, which we talk about, is things that bring that together. And if I was to put that out, people would say, come to my house, come here, come there. And that's a feeling that I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful for. And the diversification, our network, and it's something that's just beautiful that I would never, where we're at today, I wouldn't change one thing about what I've done in my approach to life at this point.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for that. I really appreciate that. And that was truly from the heart for sure, with no doubt. And a big thanks to Billy Knight there, who his daughter is going to go off to MEPS next week to enlist. So thanks for her service.
I got to pop this in here real quick, Breck.
Go ahead.
Billy Knight, there's a backstory real quick. So Billy Knight, actually, he and I served together in my last 3 years there with USAREC. We were recruiters there in the T-Mall station. But Billy Knight is, and I saw it then, when we're recruiting, is one of the most caring individuals, because we actually care about the people that we're putting into our team. And that's what the recruiters are there for, is to identify and to recruit and to influence those that are qualified and interested in coming in. But who Billy Knight is today, Billy Knight is one of the directors for the VA here in Washington State. Handles all of our pre-discharge, med boards and everything like that here.
He helped me.
And he helped, absolutely.
He helped me with my stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Immediately.
That's awesome.
And that's why Billy has a huge heart and a huge passion for what's going on. And I'm telling you right now, on Breck Live, that between people like Billy Knight, people like Wayne Troxell here, that have that vision to really implement, and people like you, and people like, all of these influencers that agree with this is what's going to change the way that the military transitions. It's not going to be policy. It's the way that our leadership handles these policies and influences them.
No, that's awesome. Thanks, Ron, for that. And a big shout out to Billy Knight. Thanks for your service and all that you've done for our country, and continue to give back to our soldiers. So thank you very much. Okay. John, I need to ask you this because I hope Sandra is watching. I know you have someone special to you in the audience. So now I want you to tell us about your family.
Yeah. So when I joined the military, and my first duty station was El Paso, Texas, your hometown, and, I met a young girl there named Sandra Jimenez, and I immediately fell in love. And, she comes from a traditional Mexican family. Her father was from Mexico. He came into this country legally, and he married my mother-in-law, Elisa Barajas. They got married. They had 19 children. 19 children in 23 years. I don't know what they did the other 4 years, but I know what they were doing for 19 years, all right? You know what I'm talking about, Lieutenant? So here I am, a Caucasian man, married into this traditional Mexican family, and you know what I'm talking about, brother,
Gotta pay your dues.
So I had to pay my dues. I had to come in and prove that I was genuine in caring about this woman. And, but her mom and dad her mom and dad spoke very little English, but I can tell you, we could sit at a table and have conversations for hours that were just phenomenal. And, so we got married, and we've been married for almost 37 years now. And we have 3 wonderful sons that are all doing well. And we have 4 grandchildren. As a matter of fact, my oldest son, Daniel, is here with us.
Yeah,
come on in.
Dan.
He's got size 13 shoes, so don't tear our shit up over here, all right? So this is my oldest son, Daniel, right here.
Yeah.
How you doing, brother?
Doing all right.
Yeah? Good?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, nice to see you.
I think he's pretty high speed.
Is he pretty high speed? Yeah. So this is my oldest son right here, and Daniel Wayne Troxell, got the same middle name as his dad, and I'm proud that he's doing great things.
Yeah, man.
He's got a wife and 2 kids of his own, and he's doing great things. And he works at the exchange on McCord here. And how long have you been part of the exchange system now?
Going on 16 years.
Wow.
Hey, he started at the Fort Drum food court.
Wow.
He just worked his way up to where he's a manager now at the exchange here. As a matter of fact, he worked at the gun counter at JBLM for a while on McCord Field. He sold me all my handguns and my wife our guns, So all those loaded firearms we got in our nightstands at night, I thank my oldest son for that.
Oh. Thanks, Daniel. It's a pleasure to meet you, and glad to see you in person. So.
And great to hear from you too.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, John, you got to tell us about your grandkids now. Don't forget them.
Oh, yes. So I have 2 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. I have an 11-year-old grandson, David, 10-year-old granddaughter, Melody, that are Daniel's kids. My middle son, Michael, he and his fiance, Emily, they have little Claudio. We call him Little C, because Claudio Osiris is his middle name. So sometimes we call him Little C, but he's adorable. And then my youngest son, Brian, and his lovely wife, Andy, they have Luna Bell. Little Luna Bell, my youngest granddaughter, and she's got her grandpa right here. She's got me right around her pinky finger. But so I will tell you, being a grandparent is phenomenal. You know why, brother?
Why? Tell me why.
Because if the kids start acting up, you can just give them back to the parents and say, move out, But no, being a grandparent is phenomenal, because once you think you've given your love to your children and you've given it all, along come the grandchildren and you do it all over again.
Okay.
So,
now,
it's
all
awesome,
right,
brother.
That's all right. I can see that.
So to David, Melody, Little C, Claudio, and Luna Bell, Papa loves you.
That's
and Grandma
awesome.
loves you too.
All right, awesome. Well, it's so great to hear about all your families and the passion and love about your families, because I think you both can agree that we are not who we are because of our families, right? I mean, whether it's mom or dads or brothers and sisters or spouses and kids or grandkids, they inspire us every day to be better. So, all right,
Brett,
so
if I could add one other thing. So,
go ahead.
So my 11-year-old grandson and 10-year-old granddaughter, in 4 years as the SEAC, I spent 280 days a year on the road. I went to 69 different countries with repeat offenders, about a dozen times to Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, South Korea, all of the places that you and Carolyn want to go visit, for vacation, when Sydney gets a break from school and everything, But my grandkids, we bought them a globe, and they would always look on that globe when Grandma would say, "Hey, Papa's in Syria." They would get on that globe and they would find out where their Papa was at. Or if I was in, Venezuela or, Colombia or, Libya or wherever it was at, they would always find it on the globe. So not only were they really worried about where their Papa was traveling around the world, they were getting a pretty good geography lesson too, Ron.
Spin it around. Go to Google Earth.
Hey, so Pierce County Schools, if you want a geography substitute teacher, reach out to John Wayne Troxell. I got your back, all right?
PM me hard.
That's right.
PM me hard. There you go. All right, awesome. Well, we're definitely this is such a great conversation. We're kind of running out of time, but there's a very important topic that I wanted to hit at the end. But I'm gonna forego a couple of the questions that I had set. But real quick, Ron, please forgive me. But this question is going to be for John, and if you could just give it to me, and then we'll get into the main portion of reason why I brought you on or asked you to come on. So obviously, with selections of certain jobs and stuff. So when you were selected for the SEAC, when you got the call to interview, and then you conducted the interview, and then next thing you know, you get the phone call or however it happened. Please tell my viewers a little bit of how did it happen, right? How did that phone call happen? What went through your head? And then quickly, if you don't mind, how did it feel that now that you knew that you had that extreme weight on your shoulders, that you were going to be the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff?
Holy shit.
Yeah, thanks, Breck, for bringing that up. So I was the U.S. Forces Korea Command Senior Enlisted Leader, and I had a great relationship with SEAC 2, Brian Battaglia, and he kept coaching and mentoring me that I needed to compete for the SEAC position. And as you know, brother, whenever you compete for a job, the differences between each individual is paper thin. And generally, the selecting official goes with somebody that they're most comfortable with. So I said, okay, I would love to compete to be the SEAC. I said, but if it doesn't happen, then Sandra and I will move off into retirement and everything. So I interviewed, General Dunford was the chairman at the time, and he happened to be coming to South Korea for a visit for the military committee meetings that every chairman does with the ROC chairman, the Republic of Korea chairman. And so I interviewed with him in the Marriott Hotel in a small restaurant. And as you know, Breck, normally the interviews are either done face-to-face in the selecting official's office, or it's in a VTC where it's just you and them. Well, here I was in this coffee shop in the Marriott Hotel with the chairman, with all of these Korean citizens around us. And of course, Korean hierarchy, they see somebody with 4 stars, they're intimately interested in them. So I'm trying to interview for this job, and all of these Korean citizens were taking pictures of the chairman. They didn't give a shit who I was, okay? All right, which is okay, all right? But they were like, oh shit, we got this Marine 4-star here, we're gonna take some pictures of him. So it was a little unorthodox, the interview. I thought the interview went okay. I told myself, I said, look, I'm going to do what I do for every interview, and that's look at what the selecting official's vision and priorities are, and look where I can develop focus areas that would complement that vision and priorities. And so I did that with General Dunford, and that was on the 3rd of November, 2015. And on the Veterans Day of 2015, we had a huge event with our Korean nationals. Sandra and I did, and it was one of those things with the Koreans where you can't outdrink them and out-gift them, and it was. I taught you how to open a soju bottle. And anyways, so I woke up in the morning in a very bad state, and I looked at my phone, and I missed a call from Washington, D.C. And I thought, oh shit, that was probably the chairman. So I called the office, and the secretary at the time said, look, The chairman needs to talk to you, but he can't talk to you now. We're going to have to reschedule the phone call. And you know, when you're waiting to see what your future looks like,
Yep.
you know, that call, you're like, oh man. So anyways, and I had a trip to Japan scheduled. So I was going, and Eric Dostey, one of your mentors, was the U.S. Forces Japan senior enlisted leader. U.S. Army Japan Command Sergeant Major. And so I was over there, and I was in the Soto Kano Hotel in Tokyo, and I was told, hey, be prepared for a call. So my wife is in Seoul, South Korea. I'm in Tokyo, Japan. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting an hour before I'm supposed to have this phone call with the chairman, determine what my future is. You know, for an hour, I'm sitting there drinking coffee and waiting for that phone to ring. You know what I'm talking about, brother. And the phone rings, and the secretary says, stand by for the chairman, General Dunford. And General Dunford, this is what I love about that guy. One of the most hardest fighting Marines I've ever been, but he is an elder statesman and a true gentleman. He goes on there and says, hey, Sergeant Major, how you doing? I said, well, I'm doing pretty good, Chairman. I said, I'm in Japan right now, and I'm visiting U.S. Forces Japan, 5th Air Force, U.S. Army Japan, and I'm going to go see 7th Fleet. And he says, good, I'm glad you're doing that. He said, if you and Sandra are still up for it, we would love for you to come up and serve as Ellen and I, he said, Ellen and I, his wife, would love for you to come up and serve alongside of us as our SEAC. And it was just like, I was numb after that. And then I was FaceTiming with Sandra. So you know how when you get selected for a job, and I know you and Carolyn have probably done this, you're able to do it face-to-face and embrace, and it was just phenomenal. But I learned then, and then as I started moving, because in 2 weeks, I was gone from Korea, and I was in Washington, D.C., and the day after I got there, I was the Grand Marshal at the Military College Football Bowl, and I said, the easy part is over with, getting selected. The hard part begins right now. Mm-hmm. But here's what I tell everybody, and I'll end with this, James. I tell everybody, you compete on a lot of slates in the nominative level. And people look at me and say, well, look at you. You were the SEAC. You made it all the way. I said, look, I competed on 9 slates, and my record was 5-4. I became the SEAC, yes, but there was one slate that I didn't get selected on where the selecting official was a guy named Dunford. Okay? So he didn't select me for one job, but he selected me to be the SEAC. The point being is, for all those senior enlisted that are out there watching this, you got to hang in there. And again, it's like the mafia. It isn't personal, it's business. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get selected, it's because the differences are paper thin, and that selecting official, that general officer or flag officer, chose to go with this person because they feel more comfortable with them. So it was just, when you talk about a complete natural high, Breck,
yeah,
getting that call that you're going to be the senior enlisted person in the Department of Defense, but I knew that there was a duty I had to do, and I had to give 4 years of giving back.
Wow. I'm going to tell you, Sergeant Major, that was.
Man, hold on, Breck. I'm sorry.
Right, go ahead. Yeah, definitely. That was. I don't know.
Something that I've been waiting for somebody to ask him for a long time, and I mean I could ask him as well, but to hear it and put up that way, man, I love you. This is why he commands so much respect. Not commands it. That's why
he's earned it. Yeah.
It's earned. It's magnetic. Yeah. Anyway.
And I would tell you, I was looking forward to asking that question for a long time, and it was a lot of the questions I had teed up, but that was one of them.
I got to ask you, Breck, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What's your record on nominative slates?
Oh my goodness!
I know you've been selected 3 times now.
Yeah, I'm 3 times selected, but I'm 3 for 3.
So you're 3-0?
3 for 3. So I interviewed 6 times. I'm sorry, Texas math. I interviewed 6 times, and I got selected 3 times. Okay. So 500 record.
The senior person that's going to deal with criminal investigations and Army Corrections Command. Yes. The senior official in that.
Yeah.
That's my awesome point right there. You might have a record of 3-3, but in the end, you've been selected 3 times. And it's that persistence to continue to say, I want to serve, I want to give back and everything. And if you continue to do that, you'll get rewarded. So God bless you, brother.
Well, thanks, SEAC. Appreciate it. And I've talked to you a few times after my non-selects, and and it was really about just saying, hey, stay in the game. It'll happen when it happens, and I believe everything happens for a reason. And God willing, it happened. And so I'm blessed to continue to serve. So thank you for that little shout out for me, but really a shout out to you, SEAC, because that story, I don't know if anybody's ever heard it, but you heard it live tonight on my broadcast. So thanks so much for sharing that. So anyway, hey, we're running out of time, but I cannot be remiss if we did not talk about a few things. And the main reason is about Veterans Lending Group. And so first, a big shout out to Mike and Brooke, who's not listening, right?
Come here, Mike. We got
go. Mike and Brooke is listening, and you guys can talk about who Mike and Brooke is here in a second. But
clean cut. He's got a suit on, and
there we go. Mike, pleasure to meet you.
This is our boss, the boss.
So I know this is the Ron and Jon show, but I'm going to change it up now because Mike is standing here. Mike, tell us about Veterans Lending Group. What is your mission and what are your core values?
Well, talk with your hands. Go ahead.
He's Italian, so hold on. Let me get his side here.
No, I mean, Veterans Lending Group, man, we started Veterans Lending Group many years ago. And when we did so, it was our mission was really just to educate. We've been in this industry for a very long time, starting with my wife, Brooke. And if I'm blunt, I didn't care for many people in the industry. I don't think that it's really an upstanding industry. And when I'm talking about my military folks, all of our veterans, that's just not something that I agree with. We just don't really mess around with it. When we started getting into it, we saw that a lot of people lacked education. And so with that, what did we do? We started off an education company that said, hey, let's hire veterans. Let's get out there and let's educate. So that is really where we're at. Our core values is just that. We just try to do what's right. We try to keep it real. We try to stay honest and direct and simple. That's really what we're at Veterans Lending Group.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, you did a way better job than either Ron or Jon could have done.
That's why we brought him up here. Shit, like we're not dumb. I mean, we know how to outsource. We can delegate. We know.
Well, I will tell you that, obviously, thank you for what you do and for your service as well. And then continuing to give back to our soldiers, our airmen, our Marines, our Coast Guard and folks, anybody who has served, to give back to them, to give them someone honest to deal with. So obviously veterans groups are always important, and supporting veterans business is just as important. So pleasure to meet you, Mike, and to you and your wife, thank you so much for all that you do for us. So thanks very much. Appreciate that. All right. Awesome. Hey, real quick, you don't mind if I deviate from this show real quick? I want to talk about real quick, and we're going to get back to Veterans Lending Group here in a second. Ron Jon, tell us where you're at and bring up the special guest who is allowing you to do this show.
Hey, so Breck, we are at FOB, Forward Operating Base Brewing Company in DuPont, Washington.
Yeah.
It is a veteran-owned company, and why this veteran-owned company has a special place in my heart, the owner, Jared Wharton, was one of my human intelligence professionals in my Stryker Brigade during the surge in Iraq in 2007 and 8. Hey, Jared.
Hey, Mike, you're up.
Come on, Jared.
He's coming.
Don't be shy, Jared.
They're washing glasses and shit.
All these guys waiting on beer are going to be kicking our ass after this.
Exactly.
So
they got to wait.
Yeah. But Jared is, he's a guy that served under me, like I said, but now here he is. So
Jon's has his story, but let me just tell the flip side of how we actually became to be here at FOB, and as well as where we actually host VA Home Loan Boot Camps once a month when we pre-COVID, right? But the thing is that I always want to explain the power of networking with veterans, amongst veterans, and the power of veteran business owners. I met Jared through actually Griff.
Yeah.
And Griff, I met, he invited me. Exactly. We're just talking about that.
Yeah.
Right? So we met together, and I was like, hey man, who was that one dude over at the FOB? And then one thing led to another. And the relationship that Jared and I have now I mean, this is my fucking brother, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt. Sorry, damn, forget where we're at. But it's what it is, and this fob, what he created on my way here. I took an Uber here, so everybody knows, right? But he's the driver says, fob, which fob? I said, it's just fob, man. It's just fob. He says, okay, and I could tell. I was like, no, this is follow-on question. He says, well, I was translator from Iraq and so on and so forth. So fob is fob what? And I said, well, actually, this veteran business owner served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and created FOB as a relaxed environment for veterans. And he was just like, oh, he did one of those, I love it, you know, more like, oh, you know. But anyway, it was phenomenal to see that when you hear FOB, you see it, it looks like it, you know, it's relaxed. But more importantly, this is a place where I have personally seen, and I've experienced myself, veterans and service members come in here and dump whatever they need on their shoulder of their fellow brother or their fellow sister or fellow civilian that is just here because this is a point of contact, of networking and explosiveness. So anyway, thank you so much for being able to for hosting this and by the way, he's not even open on Wednesdays. He opened specifically for us for these two shows back to back. And thank you so much, brother.
Yeah. Thanks, Jared. Hey, so real quick, if you don't mind, I'd like to just say a few things. Jared, again, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you did for our country, raising your right hand and choosing to serve. And I promise that as I get into my next job and get to start traveling around and I get out there, I am coming to FOB Brewery for sure. And the first round is on me. So thanks for hosting the Ron and John Show and myself tonight, Jared. Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
All right. Awesome. Okay. All right. So Ron, John, let's get back to the main point, you know, the whole Veterans Lending Group and about veterans being able to get homes and purchasing, whether they're living in it or want to use it as rental properly. I want to talk about a few things, and I'm going to throw out some topics of things that you can talk about, and I'll let Ron start first, and then John, you can follow up. But I want to hear about credit scores, comparing mortgage rates, closing costs, VA loans, or hell, let's even talk about the PCS toolkit that you have on your Veterans Lending Group homepage. So I'm going to just turn the mic over to you and let you go.
Oh, man. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to take a little hit of this Sua Sponte. Freshly brewed, actually just dropped off by FOB Brewing here. Sua Sponte, by the way, means they're of their own accord. Little Ranger shout out. So I'm going to break a couple myths, right? And I'm going to share on those 5 points. I hope I cover them all. If I miss them, you just let me know. Number one, at Veterans Lending Group, when we created this piece of education, the cornerstone of what Veterans Lending Group is about is integrity, number one. From that follows quickly with education, which is our trajectory to where we head to, because less than 15% of service members know or even know about or utilize their VA home loan benefit. And the reason for that is because of a lack of education. That lack of education, you don't hear about that in AIT, your tech school, your A school, your MOS school, whatever it is your branch calls it, that since 1991, 90 days or more after you've served, you're eligible for this VA home loan benefit. Now, when we talk about credit scores is the way we educate at Veterans Lending Group is based off of the guidelines, means how it was written, not based off of what other lenders are enforcing, what their restrictions that they put on our benefit. When we talk and teach, it's about this is how it was written. So number one, if they forget about Ron Farrell, if they forget about Veterans Lending Group, if they forget about whoever it is that they're working with, that they know the truth. Because for us, regardless of whoever they work with, as long as a veteran or service member gets squared away, it's a win for us.
Yeah.
Additionally, is we like to talk about and promote things of wealth accumulation, right? Veterans that have no idea about this home loan benefit. Yeah, like for example, John here served 38 years. How many duty stations has he PCS to? I don't even want to know. Holy shit, 20 PCSs. Whereas we know first sergeants that have served 20 and have 5 homes because they've been able to utilize their VA home loan benefit wherever they went. And I'm not to say that it's a fault on John, but it's because over time it's been a lack of education, which we're trying to instill and change. When we talk about PCS moves in the PCS toolkit, the reason why I got into this, number one, wasn't because mortgages were sexy. I got into this because I was a veteran that was at a transitioning point in my life where I had to make some decisions on a career choice. And what I chose was passion and making sure that veterans and service members were educated so that we didn't continue to get screwed by those big, pinky wearing, big bow tie and tie wearing used car salesman. I wanted to do something that was different and educate in a way that was real. That was us. That's with beers. That's with baking, with sliders. And we can speak what's on our mind and say, don't take no shit from nobody. Here's what you can actually do with your benefit and do something. Now, with that is as our education grows and continues to move, we let people and veterans know what they can do with their benefit now. When they PCS, we'll talk about that PCS toolkit. People don't know what happens when they PCS. We are licensed in all 50 states, which means that we can ETS, PCS, or retire wherever it is that you go, meaning that we can have you pre-approved and have you lined up with a real estate agent in your target destination that's going to get you squared away because we worked with them before. We know what's going on with and how to negotiate with them. And here's the other part. If you have a real estate agent that you're working with that is not does not have VA experience, we have curriculum for those real estate agents that they can learn how to negotiate on your behalf. They know how closing costs work. They know how to negotiate with that listing agent that might not know about the veteran discrimination that's going out there. And that's really what we're trying to do, because a rising tide lifts all ships. Are we the end all and be all? There's times where someone's going to beat us out, or someone wants to do something different, or they're pre-qualified, or whatever the situation is. But so long as that service member and that veteran is educated on them getting the best value out of what they're stepping into, for us, that's a win-win solution. So for our PCS toolkit, you can log into there, you can check it out, you can see what you need to do before you PCS and how you need to do it, and just know that we are not going to kick you to the curb. We're not going to be one of those lenders that say, see us a year from now. We're here to create a plan of action with you, for you, and walk that journey with you, regardless of whatever it takes.
Hey, and Breck, if I could just add my personal story.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
So I had not owned a home in almost 30 years. And so I had lived in government quarters for 20 years as a sergeant major. I lived in government quarters and many years before that. So when I left as the SEAC and retired, I knew I needed to buy a home. And I had the same, what Ron talked about in terms of those people in the 1980 suits with the 8-inch wide tie or the bow tie and the big old pinky rings saying, hey, I'll get you, a good percentage rate and everything. I was worried. Sandra and I both were worried about that. Were we going to be manipulated? And so our realtor, Candace Day, who happens to be a military spouse, she told us, I'm going to go introduce you to the Veterans Lending Group team of Mike and Brooke Villano. Yeah. And so I had this preconceived notion in my head of what I was going to see. And then I showed up and you saw Mike Villano. Yeah. Okay, the guy's in a T-shirt, a baseball hat, and he's got sleeve tattoos. And then his wife, Brooke, with this effervescent smile and personality, and they just came in and welcomed us. And we were just like, and Nicole as well, you know. And then meeting Ron in the shitter, I was like, man, they made Sandra and I comfortable. And they walked us through the process of becoming homeowners again. Yeah. And every time something was coming up that something needed to happen or we needed a decision, Mike or Brooke would call us immediately, explain everything. It was hands-on kind of leadership. And so when we bought our home and we moved into it, and then Mike and Brooke asked us to come on and be of the team, and they asked me to be a tag team partner with Ron here, I said, no other organization would I want to do it with, because they genuinely care about veterans, their families, but more importantly, they care about the teammates they have on their team. So that's why my testimony as a client and now as an employee is why I'm on this team right now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that's exactly what I was looking for. And so a big shout out to Mike and Brooke, and thanks for those comments. And I took a lot of notes while you all were talking. I was taking a lot of notes because, I'm going to Virginia, right? And,
if I could just make this one little plug, you got one on us, I got to get one on here.
Yeah.
For anybody that's interested in learning about their education, about their VA home loan benefit, you can log on to vahomeloanbootcamp.com. Again, vahomeloanbootcamp.com. And that's going to give you our entire schedule of what we have live classes. And we also have a live library of not only VA Home Loan Bootcamp, but VA Home Loan Bootcamp 2.0, where I show people how to override their VA home loan benefit, as well as show them exactly what they need to do to use their VA home loan benefit to actually get investment properties down the road with 4 or 5 different homes. We have credit building strategies. I just launched another one about refinances, and we have also one for real estate agents on how to better serve military clients, because we truly believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. And we believe, I mean, whether you go with us or not, we're interested in just using us as a resource that you can rely on, regardless of whatever your situation is.
No, that's awesome. And that is a great resource to be able to go on there and just do it. And like we always say, whether you go with Veterans Lending Group or someone else, just get educated. Just get educated so you know what to do. So, all right. Well, I might be making a phone call here in about 2 months because I'm going to Virginia, and the wife might say, I want that house forever.
Mike is at the bar and he sees you. He saw your acknowledgement.
All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Mike, you hearing? You listen?
Hey, Breck, can we do one last thing? We got one more entrenching tool, right?
We do have one more entrenching. We'd love to give you a show.
Real quick, before we get to the entrenching tool, I just want to make sure everybody understands that you have offices across the United States that can help anybody in any state, right?
Absolutely. So again, like I said, we are licensed in all 50 states. We can ETS, PCS, or retire wherever you go. We have physical locations all over Washington State, Colorado, Florida, moving into Texas, Virginia, into Fort Bragg. So, what your situation is, we got you squared away. We got you covered.
All right. Awesome. All right. So please take the floor. Let's get this entrenching tool presented to somebody. I'm excited to hear who's going to get it. So I'll turn the mic over to you.
Who's that over there?
Hey, dear. Hello, ma'am. Do you have an entrenching tool? Come on up. Come on up. Come on up.
Oh, yeah.
Come on up.
You're live.
All
it's
right.
all good. Yep. I'm going to turn this whole thing towards you if you don't come on up. Here you go. Bring it out. You can push your glass. Yeah, come on. That's all right. Yeah. All right. Come on.
All right. How are
back
you?
behind us here.
I'm John.
Hi, John.
I'm Ron.
Hi, Ron.
And who are you?
I'm Trina.
Trina.
Yes.
Nice
And
to
so
meet you, Trina.
what brings you into File Brewing Company?
My kids are at track practice.
Her kids are at track practice right now. So
Plus, a good friend of mine knows the people who own it.
Okay.
oh yeah, so Jared.
Yes,
Jared.
Randy,
Yeah, okay.
Randy introduced me to them a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Nice. So you come here and hang out and have a couple beers, just relax while your kids are doing their thing. What's going
Hard
on?
cider Mondays and
Some hard
Well, you-
cider.
yeah,
it's
Okay.
Wednesday.
Okay.
That's not exactly a sarsaparilla over there.
Yeah.
It's a passion fruit hard cider.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good.
So I have to ask,
Yeah.
you veteran affiliated or anything at
So
all?
I work for a gentleman who retired out the Navy.
Okay.
My dad was in the National Guard.
Okay.
My great grandfather was in the Navy.
Okay.
My ex-husband was in the Marines.
Okay. That's you.
We won't hold that against
We're not. The last one is kind of like, you got you don't eat crayons still, do you?
No, I never did.
Oh, well, okay. That's why you're not with them. I'm okay.
Wait,
But you know what?
You guys might have got those done at my job.
That's your job. These?
No, not that one.
Not this one? Okay.
Okay.
You make these?
No, but we engrave them.
You engrave? Oh, yeah. These are hand signed.
Yeah, but we get them engraved at Tuesday morning if you guys ever want them engraved.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
But-
so on behalf of Breck Time Broadcast,
Breck Time Broadcast.
Hi, Breck.
BTB, and the Ron and John Show, we
Yeah.
want to give you a Veterans Lending Group
Signed
entrenching tool,
Entrenching tool.
signed by Ron and
Now you have to do us a favor though.
Okay.
Number one, you have to look up John Wayne Troxell
Okay.
and understand how you're getting this e-tool and why this e-tool is important.
Okay.
You
Now-
see what it says here?
Oh, you're a diamond. Hey.
No.
Well, that's-
You are?
That's
Yeah.
me.
All right.
Yeah, so it says each one. Okay. Yeah, but anyways,
But you know what I would also like to say is that this is a testament, Breck, on what's going on here at the FOB.
Yeah.
See, this is not. I mean, she stopped here, had a
Yep.
beer here, right? There's
Yep.
gymnastics and stuff going on. She has an
Track.
affiliation.
Track.
I'm sorry, track. Okay.
Track.
Well, there's also gymnastics right next door.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the thing is that is she a veteran? Right? Was she a service member? No, but her family is, and that's
Yep.
what attracts in this
That's right.
place.
That's
and,
right.
and we accept them.
That's right.
To our family. Thank you so much. And you know what? We appreciate the
Support
sacrifices.
military,
We
support
appreciate the
the military
sacrifices
people.
that your family has done. And thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank
support
you.
our
Alright.
community, especially local businesses like this one right here.
So,
Thank
so
you
I
for
got
your
to,
service.
okay, I need you to hold up that entrenching tool.
Yeah, hold that thing
Okay,
up.
and I need you to say, surrender or die.
Surrender or die.
Wait, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, no. That, you know, it's like that first time when the privates out there are saying it's like no, we need to like a real
Oh, you
one.
want me to be?
I want you to be
Yes,
real,
be you.
Be real.
like
Yeah.
like telling somebody in their face like surrender or die because I'm about to put this E tool. Oh,
Okay,
No, all right,
well,
here we go.
close your
All right, here
eyes.
we go.
Close
All right.
up your ear.
all right, here we go. Here we go.
Ready? Surrender or die.
Boom!
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Right there. There we
What do
go.
you guys think?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you so
God bless
much.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Hey,
so
them
much.
guys over there is crazy. How many beers have you guys had?
Yeah.
Oh, two.
Two.
Too
many.
too many.
Here. All right.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Breck.
Hey, Breck, thank you so much for that.
Oh no, it was a pleasure and honor to have a e-tool presentation on my show. So thank you very much. So, hey, so listen, we're gonna wrap this up, and I tell you what, I think we could probably stay on here for 8 hours probably and just talk because, I mean, it's just such great synergy going on. And cheers to you all. So to both of you, thank you very much for coming on. Thanks to Mike and Brooke and Jared for hosting. And just thanks for all that you do for and continue to do for our soldiers across the world, all of our service members,
hold on.
actually.
Time out. We got some novellas here. Novellas, if you don't know what novellas are, they're Mexican soap operas, and this is the first one.
So
This is the
I
first
got CF baseball cards. So I got to sign these and give them back.
All right.
Oh, I got an e-tool here.
Do I
All
get
right.
one?
Yeah, this is yours right here, brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Hey, Lieutenant. Hey, sir, come this way.
Bring that
Oh,
lieutenant down.
There we go.
I'm not going to put you on camera, okay?
Oh,
Because, you know,
Hey, we gotta get
Yeah.
it from my Ranger buddy over here. He can't go on camera either, but he can get a card.
yeah.
Hey.
With your important ass. Get over here.
Hey, guess what, Breck? I'm not going to put him on camera, okay? But let me
Can you
tell
bring
this
him
second-
on camera? Bring him on camera.
No, I can't
No?
right now.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
he's
in uniform.
He's in
Uh-oh.
uniform.
But guess what? He went from that table to this stand right here without getting lost.
Okay. All
Without
That's
right.
good stuff.
All right. Okay.
All right, Ranger.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So
You
we gotta
come over here,
we
brother.
gotta well actually
Oh, no, wait.
this guy
Are you still serving over there?
he's still serving, but
Oh,
no,
okay.
hold on, I gotta say something about this guy. Camo guy, right? But he's going to that place.
Oh, good for you, man.
Right?
Good for you.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, in a certain way. So we got
Okay.
somebody going to the
So you're heading east.
Gotcha. Yep.
yeah.
I gotcha. Yep. Got behind the fence. We got you. All right. All right.
There it is. He exists.
Okay. He does exist. Okay.
You go,
All
brother.
right.
Bless
man,
you.
appreciate
Thanks
you.
for your service, man. Thanks,
Oh,
Breck. Thanks
yeah.
for recognizing
Yeah,
folks.
we
here.
appreciate you,
No,
man.
that's awesome. And it's all about recognition of our great Americans that continue to give back to our community. So thank you so much to the both of you. In true Breck fashion, I want to do some closing comments real quick. I know we're a little bit over, but I want to give you both an opportunity for a couple of seconds to just give some closing comments before I close out for the evening. So please, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the youngest man in the room. That's Ron. You're it.
I appreciate that. First of all, thank you so much, Breck, for allowing us to come on this show. It's been a true honor and a pleasure to start and continue the Ron Jon Show. We've had phenomenal results. I would just say to everybody that's out there, with what's going on in the world today, be kind, be cautious, watch out for your buddy, watch out for yourself, and call a buddy, because in these times, there's a lot of turmoil, things that are happening right now. And right now, I think the biggest thing is we need to support each other. For all of you that are transitioning and looking for your next objective and in civilian life, just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Whether you serve over 30 years, whether you've served 3, 4 years or more in between that time, there's opportunities, there are resources, and there are people that care about you. And there's an entire community of brotherhood and sisterhood here that is supporting you and rooting for you. And you can find both of those in all three of us here on this show.
Yeah, no, thanks. That's great words of wisdom. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate that. John.
Hey, Breck, thank you again for allowing us to be on your show. And, you know, it is an honor to be here with you, but more an honor to be with my Ranger buddy right here, Ron O'Farrell. Hey, I just want to everybody out there, thanks for tuning in today. I will tell you that there's a lot going on in our world today, you know, with COVID-19, with some internal strife within our country. But I know this right now about our United States military, that we are still the strongest military in the world, and we can defend our homeland and our way of life. We can meet our alliance commitments, whether that's NATO or in the Pacific or wherever. But last but not least, we still have competitive warfighting advantages in every warfighting domain against any potential adversary. And the greatest advantage we have is in the human domain, and it's with our empowered and trusted non-commissioned officer and petty officer corps, which gives us our greatest competitive advantage over any threat. And tonight, being here with Command Sergeant Major James Breckenridge, Sergeant Ron O'Farrell, my Ranger buddy,
Cool.
Just another sign of why we have the greatest non-commissioned officer corps on the planet. So, Breck, thank you so much for what you're doing. Good luck to you, and bring us back, brother. We love this.
And absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And well, I'm a good husband, and I listen to my wife, and my wife said, do this again.
Do this again.
Do this again. Oh, okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Carolyn.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Carolyn.
All right. So before I close it out, I got two thanks. First, I'd like to thank Victoria, who helped get us set up on the Ron and John show an hour before my show, and who is probably still frantically working to make sure you two are squared away, even though it's from a distance. Yeah. So thanks to her, right? Yeah.
Sorry, Victoria.
Right. And then the second thanks is to you two. Thanks for your service. Thanks for what you chose to do, because I don't take that lightly, and none of us should. And thanks to everybody in FOB Brewery who has served, who has a family member that served, who knows somebody who served. Thank you to them. Thank you to you for your service to our country. The 1% of the United States of America who raised their right hand to defend our nation, to defend our freedoms that we have been doing for 245 years. Thank you. Thank you to you two gentlemen. Cool.
Yeah.
FOB Brewery and all those veterans there. Cool. All right, everybody. Well, again, this concludes another week of Breck Time broadcast, and I could not have been more honored to have the Ron and John show on tonight. So thanks so much for tuning in. I know we went an hour and 22 minutes, but I think it was the most amazing fun ever. So just a fantastic night. Just great to have everybody on, and we will continue on. In 2 weeks from to this day, we are going to have one of my favorite shows on. And the reason why is because we are going to bring on all the shows that really started this whole thing. And we're going to have D Hicks from NCOPD Live. We're going to have Mark Halliburton on from Freestyle Every Day for Friday. And we're going to bring Lieutenant Colonel Josh Powers on from Field Grade Leader. And we're going to bring us all onto one platform. And we're going to talk about the power of social media and how we as leaders can impact our soldiers. It's not the way, it is a way to get after leadership development, and we're very excited for that. So please tune in 2 weeks from today. Look forward to that. So it's actually, I'm sorry to say that it's going to be on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday, just to scheduling conflict, but you'll see the invites. So please tune in. But thanks again to the Ron and John show. Mike, Brooke, Jared, Victoria, thank you all. Have a wonderful night. Take care, everybody. And remember, call somebody that you haven't talked to in a while. Call them, talk to them, and give them that virtual hug that we all need, because during these trying times, we all need a virtual hug. So here's my virtual hug to you two. Love you guys. Good night.
Yeah, thanks.
We love you, man.
All right.
All right.
God bless you.
God bless you.
All right. Boom.
We need a picture right here.